First contact and capture. Dr. Ilara Vega squinted at the flickering holographic display, her fingers dancing across the virtual keyboard as she fine-tuned the deep space scanner. The faint beep that had caught her attention moments ago repeated, slightly stronger this time. She leaned in, her heart racing with excitement. "Hey, Zach," she called out, not taking her eyes off the readout. "I think I've got something here." Dr. Zachary Chen, her research partner and longtime friend, hurried over from his workstation. "What is it, El?" Another false positive. Ilara shook her head, her dark curls bouncing with the movement. "No, this is different. Look at these readings." Zach peered at the display, his brow furrowing as he processed the data. "That can't be right. These energy signatures, they're unlike anything we've ever seen before." "Exactly," Ilara said, a hint of wonder in her voice. "I think we might have just made first contact." The two scientists worked feverishly over the next few hours, corroborating their findings and preparing a report for their superiors at the Global Space Agency. As the sun began to rise over the New Mexico desert, casting long shadows across the sprawling array of radio telescopes, Ilara and Zach finally allowed themselves a moment to breathe. "So," Zach said, leaning back in his chair and running a hand through his disheveled hair, "what do you think this means for humanity?" Ilara gazed out the window at the lightening sky. "Everything's about to change, Zach. For better or worse, we're not alone anymore." Little did they know just how prophetic those words would prove to be. 3 months later, Ilara found herself aboard the CSV Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel. The ship hummed with nervous energy as it approached the coordinates where the alien signal had originated. As the lead scientist on the mission, Ilara felt the weight of humanity's hopes and fears resting squarely on her shoulders. Captain Maya Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom. "All hands, prepare for potential first contact. This is not a drill. Dr. Vega, please report to the bridge immediately." Ilara's stomach churned with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as she made her way through the ship's sleek corridors. When she arrived on the bridge, the view screen dominated her vision, filled with the inky blackness of space. "Dr. Vega," Captain Rodriguez greeted her, her expression tense. "We're picking up an object on long-range scanners. It's big." As if on cue, a massive shape began to resolve on the screen. Ilara's breath caught in her throat as she took in the alien vessel. It was unlike anything humans had ever conceived. A twisting, organic-looking structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "It's beautiful," Ilara whispered. The alien ship grew larger, dwarfing the horizon. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the bridge. "We're caught in some kind of tractor beam," the helmsman shouted. Captain Rodriguez barked orders, but it was clear that the horizon was helpless against the alien technology. Ilara watched in a mixture of terror and awe as they were pulled inexorably towards the massive ship. There was a bone-jarring thud as the horizon was brought to a stop within what appeared to be a cavernous docking bay. For a moment, everything was still. Then, with a hiss of depressurization, the airlock doors began to open. Ilara and the rest of the crew found themselves face to face with their first aliens. The beings that strode confidently onto the horizon were tall, lithe creatures with iridescent skin that shimmered with patterns of light. Their large, multifaceted eyes regarded the humans with what seemed to be a mixture of curiosity and disdain. One of the aliens stepped forward, raising the device that emitted a soft blue glow. When it spoke, the words were somehow translated into English, resonating directly in Ilara's mind. "Greetings, primitives," the alien said, its mental voice tinged with amusement. "We are the Zarketh. Your species has been chosen for evaluation." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, her hand outstretched in a gesture of peace. "We come in friendship," she began, but was cut off as the alien's device flashed, enveloping her in a field of shimmering energy. In an instant, the captain vanished. Chaos erupted on the bridge as the crew reacted to the apparent disintegration of their leader. Ilara found herself frozen in shock, her scientific mind struggling to process what she had just witnessed. The Zarketh moved with inhuman speed, subduing the human crew with ease. Their touch seemed to induce a kind of paralysis, leaving the humans conscious but unable to resist as they were herded off their ship. As Ilara was pushed along by her captors, she caught glimpses of the alien vessel's interior. It was a bewildering mix of advanced technology and what appeared to be biological components. The walls pulsed with an inner light, and strange melodic sounds echoed through the corridors. The humans were separated into groups, and Ilara soon lost sight of her crewmates. She was brought to a small, featureless room that reminded her uncomfortably of a laboratory. The Zarketh who had first spoken to them on the horizon entered, regarding Ilara with its unsettling gaze. "You are the Knowledge Keeper," it said, the words forming in Ilara's mind. "You will provide us with information about your species." Ilara straightened her back, summoning her courage. "What have you done with our captain? With the rest of my crew?" The alien's skin rippled with patterns of light that Ilara interpreted as amusement. "They are unharmed for now. Their fate, and the fate of your entire species, depends on the outcome of our evaluation." "Evaluation?" Ilara asked, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. "What kind of evaluation?" "We seek to determine if your species is worthy of joining the galactic community," the Zarketh explained, "or if you are merely another primitive race to be managed." The implications of those words sent a chill down Ilara's spine. "And if we prove ourselves worthy?" The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to gleam. "Then you will be granted knowledge and technology beyond your wildest dreams. But be warned, human. Few species meet our standards." With that, the Zarketh activated a device on its wrist, and a holographic display sprang to life between them. Ilara recognized it as a map of Earth's solar system. "Now," the alien said, "you will tell us everything about your world, your technology, and your species' capabilities." Ilara hesitated, torn between her duty to protect Earth's interests and her desire to learn more about these advanced beings. In the end, her scientific ethics won out. She began to speak, carefully choosing her words to emphasize humanity's potential while avoiding revealing any strategic weaknesses. As she talked, Ilara's mind raced. She knew that somewhere on this vast alien ship, her crewmates were likely undergoing similar interrogations. The fate of humanity might well rest on how they all performed in this evaluation. Hours passed as Ilara answered the Zarketh's probing questions. She found herself alternately impressed by their advanced knowledge and frustrated by their apparent lack of understanding when it came to certain human concepts, particularly those related to emotions and social structures. Finally, the alien held up a hand, signaling an end to the interrogation. "You have provided much to consider, Knowledge Keeper. You will now rest and prepare for the next phase of evaluation." Before Ilara could ask what this next phase entailed, the Zarketh touched its wrist device again. The room shimmered around her, and suddenly Ilara found herself in a new space, a small, oddly comfortable cell that seemed designed to mimic human living quarters. As the initial shock wore off, Ilara sank onto the bed-like structure, her mind whirling with everything that had happened. First contact, she mused, had turned out to be nothing like the optimistic scenarios she and her colleagues had imagined. She thought of Zach, still back on Earth, unaware of the monumental events unfolding in deep space. She thought of Captain Rodriguez and the rest of the Verizon's crew, scattered throughout this vast alien ship. And she thought of the billions of humans back on Earth, going about their daily lives, blissfully unaware that their fate was being decided light years away. As exhaustion finally overtook her, Ilara's last conscious thought was a determination to prove the Zarketh wrong about humanity. Somehow, she vowed, she would show these aliens that humans were more than just primitive beings to be managed. The challenge ahead was immense, but Ilara Vega had never been one to back down from a challenge. Little did she know that the true test of humanity's worth was yet to come, and that she would play a pivotal role in a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. The alien arena. Ilara awoke to a sudden bright light flooding her cell. For a moment, she was disoriented, the events of the previous day rushing back to her. Before she could fully gather her thoughts, two Zarketh entered the room. "It is time, human," one of them communicated telepathically. "The trials begin now." Without waiting for a response, they escorted her out of the cell. As they walked through the twisting corridors of the alien ship, Ilara caught glimpses of other beings, some humanoid, others utterly alien, being led in the same direction. A knot of anxiety formed in her stomach. They emerged into a vast, circular chamber that reminded Ilara of ancient Roman colosseums. Tiered seating surrounded a central arena, filled with what she assumed were spectators from various alien races. In the center stood a group of beings, including several humans. With a jolt, Ilara recognized Captain Rodriguez among them. As Ilara was brought to join the group, the captain caught her eye and gave a subtle nod. Before they could exchange words, a booming voice echoed through the chamber, seeming to come from everywhere at once. "Sentience of the galaxy," the voice proclaimed, "welcome to the trials of ascension. These beings before you represent species on the cusp of galactic citizenship. They will be tested in body, mind, and spirit. Those who prove worthy will earn their place among the stars. Those who fail will be deemed unfit." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Ilara's scientific mind raced, trying to process the implications of what she was hearing. This wasn't just about Earth. It was about humanity's place in a larger galactic community. The first trial began without warning. The floor of the arena shifted, forming obstacles and platforms of varying heights. "The trial of adaptability," the voice announced, reached the summit. Ilara and the others found themselves facing a constantly changing landscape. As she began to navigate the shifting terrain, she noticed that some of the alien competitors seemed to have natural advantages. Extra limbs, the ability to fly, or even to reshape their bodies. Gritting her teeth, Ilara pushed forward. Her background in rock climbing proved unexpectedly useful as she scaled the ever-changing obstacles. She found herself working in tandem with Captain Rodriguez, the two women instinctively cooperating to overcome challenges neither could face alone. As they neared the summit, Ilara noticed one of the alien competitors, a squat, reptilian being, struggling to make the final climb. Without hesitation, she reached out a hand to help. The alien's multifaceted eyes widened in surprise, but it accepted the assistance. Together, the unlikely trio reached the summit just as the time limit expired. Ilara's lungs burned, but a sense of triumph surged through her. They had passed the first trial, but there was no time to rest. The arena shifted again, and the voice announced the next challenge. "The trial of ingenuity. Solve the puzzle before you to survive." A holographic maze materialized around each competitor, filled with symbols and patterns that seemed to shift and change when looked at directly. Ilara's mind raced as she tried to decipher the logic behind the puzzle. As she worked, she became aware of the reptilian alien she had helped earlier working nearby. It seemed to be struggling with a particular section of the maze. Acting on instinct, Ilara called out, describing the pattern she had noticed in her own puzzle. The alien's eyes widened in understanding, and it quickly solved its section. In return, it pointed out a solution to a part of Ilara's maze that had been eluding her. Working together, they completed the trial just in time. As the holograms faded, Ilara caught the eye of one of the Zarketh observers. Its skin rippled with patterns she hadn't seen before. Could it be surprise? The trials continued, each one testing different aspects of the competitor's abilities. There was a test of physical endurance that pushed Ilara to her limits, a complex diplomatic scenario that required her to negotiate with aliens whose cultures she could barely comprehend, and a moral dilemma that forced her to weigh the needs of the many against the few. Throughout it all, Ilara found herself repeatedly working with both her fellow humans and the alien she had befriended. Each challenge seemed designed not just to test individual skills, but to see how well they could cooperate and adapt. As the final trial approached, Ilara was exhausted but determined. She had surprised herself with her own resilience and adaptability. More than that, she had begun to see the other competitors not as alien beings, but as individuals with their own strengths and weaknesses. The final trial, the voice announced, its tone somehow more solemn than before. The trial of sacrifice. The arena darkened, and a holographic display appeared before each competitor. Ilara gasped as she recognized Earth floating in the void of space. Beside it was another planet she didn't recognize, presumably the homeworld of one of the other species being tested. "Choose," the voice commanded. "Save your own world, or save another. You cannot save both." Ilara's mind reeled. How could she be expected to make such a choice? She looked around, seeing the anguish on the faces of her fellow competitors. The reptilian alien she had befriended met her gaze, its eyes filled with a pain that transcended species. In that moment, Ilara made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "No," she said, her voice ringing out in the sudden silence. "I reject this choice." A murmur of shock rippled through the arena. The Zarketh observers stirred, their skin flickering with rapid patterns of light. Ilara continued, her voice growing stronger. "If we're truly being judged on our worthiness to join a galactic community, then our worth lies not in our willingness to sacrifice others, but in our determination to find a way to save everyone." She turned to the other competitors. "We've spent these trials learning to work together, to complement each other's strengths and overcome our weaknesses. Why stop now? Together, we can find a way to save both worlds, all worlds." For a moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, the other competitors began to voice their agreement. The reptilian alien stepped forward, placing a clawed hand on Ilara's shoulder in a gesture of solidarity. The arena erupted in a cacophony of voices and telepathic communications. The Zarketh observers conferred urgently, their skin pulsing with rapid, complex patterns. Finally, the booming voice spoke again. "In all the cycles of the trials of ascension, never has this outcome been seen. You were expected to compete, yet you chose to cooperate. You were asked to sacrifice, yet you refused to abandon hope." A new hologram appeared, showing not just Earth and the other planet, but an entire galaxy of worlds. "You have demonstrated the true spirit of galactic citizenship, not the willingness to win at all costs, but the determination to seek solutions that benefit all." The arena filled with a sound that Ilara realized was applause, or at least the various species equivalent of it. The Zarketh approached, their demeanor noticeably changed. "Dr. Ilara Vega of Earth," one of them communicated, "you and your fellow humans have proven yourselves worthy beyond our expectations. Your species will be welcomed into the galactic community, not as subordinates, but as equals." As the implications of those words sank in, Ilara felt a wave of emotions wash over her, relief, pride, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. She had come seeking first contact, and instead had helped shape humanity's destiny among the stars. But as she looked at the faces of her fellow competitors, human and alien alike, Ilara knew that this was just the beginning. The real challenge lay ahead, forging a true galactic community where cooperation trumped competition and where the strengths of each species contributed to the benefit of all. With a deep breath, Ilara stepped forward, ready to face whatever the universe had in store for humanity next. Uncovering the truth. The days following the trials of ascension were a whirlwind of activity. Ilara, along with Captain Rodriguez and the other human survivors, found themselves in a crash course on galactic politics, history, and technology. The Zarketh, seemingly impressed by humanity's performance, had become more forthcoming with information. As Ilara absorbed the vast amount of new knowledge, she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. The Zarketh's sudden shift from aloof superiority to apparent openness seemed too abrupt, too convenient. One evening, as she was poring over a holographic star chart in her quarters, a soft chime indicated a visitor. To her surprise, It was Zaxlor, the reptilian alien she had befriended during the trials. "Greetings, Ilara of Earth," Zaxlor said, its multifaceted eyes darting nervously. "May we speak in private?" Ilara nodded, gesturing for Zaxlor to enter. As soon as the door closed, the alien's demeanor changed. "Listen carefully," Zaxlor whispered, its voice barely audible. "All is not as it seems. The Zarketh, they are not what they claim to be." Ilara's suspicions crystallized into a cold certainty. "What do you mean?" she asked, keeping her voice low. Zaxlor's scales rippled with agitation. "The trials, the evaluation of species, it's all a facade. The Zarketh aren't guardians of galactic peace. They're conquerors, using the trials to identify potential threats and allies." The revelation hit Ilara like a physical blow. But why go through all this? Why not just conquer outright? "Efficiency," Zaxlor explained. "By making species compete against each other, they weaken potential resistance and identify those who might be useful. Your solution in the final trial. It frightened them. They fear unity among the lesser species." Ilara's mind raced, connecting dots she hadn't even realized were there. The Zarketh's reaction to her refusal to sacrifice, their sudden openness, it all made a twisted kind of sense. "We need to warn the others," Ilara said, her resolve hardening. "We need to find a way out of here." Zaxlor nodded. "There are others who suspect the truth. We've been waiting for the right moment, the right allies. Your people, Ilara, you've shown a capacity for cooperation that could change everything." Over the next few weeks, Ilara and Zaxlor worked in secret, reaching out to other alien species who had participated in the trials. They formed a clandestine network, sharing information and resources under the very noses of their Zarketh hosts. Captain Rodriguez, when informed of the situation, immediately threw her support behind the effort. Her military background proved invaluable in planning their eventual escape. As they worked, Ilara learned more about the true nature of galactic politics. The Zarketh, it turned out, were not the only advanced species in the galaxy. There were others, some allied with the Zarketh, others in hiding or active resistance. One name came up repeatedly in their covert discussions: the Luminary, an ancient race said to possess technology far beyond even the Zarketh. The Luminary had vanished centuries ago. But rumors persisted of hidden Luminary outposts, preserving their knowledge and power. "If we could find one of these outposts," Zaxlor explained during one of their secret meetings, "we might stand a chance against the Zarketh." Ilara nodded, her scientific curiosity piqued despite the gravity of their situation. "But how would we even begin to look for something that's been hidden for centuries?" It was Kira, a young ensign from the horizon with a background in xenorchaeology, who provided a potential answer. "I've been studying the star charts they've given us," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "There are patterns, subtle anomalies that don't make sense, unless you're trying to hide something on a galactic scale." The group huddled around as Kira explained her theory. Certain star systems, seemingly unremarkable, showed minute gravitational inconsistencies. Individually, they might be dismissed as measurement errors, but taken together, they formed a pattern, a map. "It's like breadcrumbs," Ilara breathed, her mind racing with the implications. The Luminary left a trail for someone to follow. As they delved deeper into Kira's discovery, the pieces began to fall into place. The nearest potential Luminary outpost was in a system not far from their current location, a system the Zarketh had dismissed as uninhabited and uninteresting. "This is it," Captain Rodriguez said, her voice filled with determination. "This is our shot. We find this outpost, we might just have a chance to turn the tables on the Zarketh." The plan they formulated was daring, perhaps even foolhardy. They would need to commandeer a ship, evade the Zarketh's formidable defenses, and navigate to an unknown system based on centuries-old clues. As the day of their planned escape approached, tension ran high among the conspirators. Ilara found herself working more closely than ever with aliens she would once have considered utterly foreign. She was struck by how quickly those differences had faded in the face of a common goal. The night before their escape attempt, Ilara couldn't sleep. She stood by the viewport in her quarters, gazing out at the unfamiliar stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding. A soft knock at her door startled her from her reverie. It was Captain Rodriguez. "Couldn't sleep either, huh?" the captain asked with a wry smile. Ilara shook her head. "I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong, and everything that's at stake." Rodriguez placed a comforting hand on Ilara's shoulder. "I know, but I also know that we have the best minds from a dozen species working together. If anyone can pull this off, it's us." Ilara nodded, drawing strength from the captain's confidence. "It's funny," she mused. "When I dreamed of first contact, I never imagined it would be like this. Fighting for survival, plotting revolution, making friends with beings from across the galaxy." Rodriguez added with a smile. "Exactly." Ilara laughed softly. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I think humanity has already proved itself on a galactic stage." As dawn broke, or what passed for dawn on the massive Zarketh ship, Ilara steeled herself for what was to come. In a few short hours, they would make their bid for freedom. Success would mean a chance to save not just humanity, but countless other species from Zarketh Dominion. Failure. Well, failure didn't bear thinking about. With a deep breath, Ilara left her quarters, ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The greatest adventure of her life, of human history, was about to begin. The Great Escape. The plan was set in motion with clockwork precision. As the ship's artificial day cycle began, Ilara and her diverse team of conspirators put their carefully crafted scheme into action. Zaxlor and a group of other aliens created a distraction in the main hangar bay, staging a mock dispute that quickly escalated into a brawl. As Zarketh's security forces rushed to contain the situation, Captain Rodriguez led a small team to the ship's control center. Ilara, meanwhile, made her way to the communications hub. Her task was crucial, disabling the Zarketh's long-range communications to delay any pursuit. She moved swiftly through the corridors, her heart pounding with each step. As she reached the hub, she encountered her first real obstacle: two Zarketh technicians. For a moment, Ilara froze, her mind racing. Then, drawing on the diplomatic skills she'd honed during the trials, she stepped forward confidently. "Urgent message from command," she said, projecting an air of authority. "There's a situation in the hangar bay. They need you there immediately." The Zarketh hesitated, their skin flickering with patterns of confusion and suspicion. Ilara held her breath, praying her bluff would work. After what felt like an eternity, the aliens nodded and hurried off. With a sigh of relief, Ilara rushed to the control panel. The alien technology was daunting, but thanks to the crash course she'd received and her own scientific background, she managed to navigate the system. Within minutes, she had successfully sabotaged the long-range communications array. "Communications disabled," she reported through her concealed communicator, moving to rendezvous point. As Ilara made her way to the predetermined meeting spot, chaos erupted throughout the ship. Alarms blared, and she could hear the sound of running feet and shouted orders. She arrived at the rendezvous point to find Captain Rodriguez and the others already there, along with a group of allied aliens. Together, they raced towards the auxiliary hangar, where they had identified a ship suitable for their escape. As they rounded the final corner, they came face to face with a squad of Zarketh security forces. For a moment, both groups froze in surprise. Then, all hell broke loose. The next few minutes were a blur of action. Ilara found herself in the thick of the fight, using moves she'd learned during the trials to hold her own against the physically superior Zarketh. Around her, humans and aliens alike fought with desperate determination. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Zaxlor appeared with reinforcements. other aliens who had decided to throw in their lot with the escapees. The tide of battle turned, and they managed to fight their way to the ship. As they piled into the alien vessel, Captain Rodriguez took the helm. "I hope you all fastened your seatbelts," she quipped, her fingers flying over the unfamiliar controls. "This might get a bit bumpy." The ship roared to life, lifting off just as another wave of Zarketh forces burst into the hangar. Ilara held on tight as Rodriguez piloted the ship through the closing hangar doors, with barely inches to spare. They shot out into open space, but their troubles were far from over. The Zarketh flagship began to give chase, joined by several smaller vessels. "We need to reach the coordinates for the luminary outpost," Ilara shouted over the din of alarms and weapons fire. "It's our only chance." Kira, the young ensign who had deciphered the star charts, worked furiously at the navigation console. "I'm inputting the coordinates now, but we need to shake off these pursuers." What followed was a harrowing chase through an asteroid field. Captain Rodriguez's piloting skills were put to the ultimate test as she weaved through the deadly obstacles, using them as cover from the Zarketh's weapons. Ilara and the others did what they could to help, manning the unfamiliar weapon systems and trying to keep the ship's systems operational under the stress of evasive maneuvers. Just when it seemed they might escape, a massive energy beam lanced out from the Zarketh flagship, barely missing their ship but sending it into a dangerous spin. "We're losing power," Zaxlor called out from the engineering station. "One more hit like that, and we're done for." As alarms blared and the ship shuddered around them, Ilara's mind raced. There had to be a way out, something they hadn't considered. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "The luminary technology," she exclaimed. "If their outpost is where we think it is, we might be in range of some kind of defense system or beacon." Kira looked up from her console, eyes wide with understanding. "You're right, but how do we activate it?" Ilara rushed to Kira's side, studying the star chart. "Look at the pattern of gravitational anomalies. It's not just a map, it's a key." Working together, Ilara and Kira quickly input a series of commands based on the pattern they had discovered. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, just as another Zarketh energy beam was about to hit them, the space around their ship shimmered. A massive structure seemed to materialize out of nowhere. A sprawling space station of clearly alien design. Before anyone could react, a beam of soft, golden light engulfed their ship, pulling it towards the station. The Zarketh vessels, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the luminary outpost, veered off. Their weapons seemed to have no effect on the station's defenses. As their ship was drawn into a cavernous docking bay, the team let out a collective breath they hadn't realized they'd been holding. "We did it," Captain Rodriguez said, her voice filled with awe and relief. "We actually did it." Ilara nodded, her mind already racing with the possibilities that lay before them. They had escaped the Zarketh, but more importantly, they had discovered something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. As they prepared to disembark and explore the luminary outpost, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They had taken their first step into a larger universe, but the greatest challenges and opportunities still lay ahead. The doors of their ship opened, revealing the interior of the ancient luminary station. As Ilara stepped out, ready to face whatever came next, she knew that the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in their hands. Turning the tides. The interior of the luminary outpost was a marvel of advanced technology and elegant design. Soft, ambient light seemed to emanate from the very walls, and holographic displays flickered to life as Ilara and her companions moved through the station. "This is incredible," Kira breathed, her eyes wide as she took in their surroundings. "The level of technology here, it's beyond anything I've ever seen." As they explored, they discovered that the station was more than just a hidden outpost. It was a vast repository of knowledge and technology left behind by the luminary. Interactive databases provided access to scientific, historical, and cultural information from countless civilizations across the galaxy. But it was in the heart of the station that they made their most significant discovery. A massive chamber housed what appeared to be a communications array of unparalleled power and sophistication. This could be the key to everything, Ilara said, her mind racing with possibilities. If we can figure out how to use this, we could broadcast the truth about the Zarketh to the entire galaxy. Over the next few days, Ilara, Kira, and the others worked tirelessly to decipher the luminary technology. The task was daunting, but the diversity of their group proved to be their greatest strength. Each species brought unique perspectives and problem-solving approaches to the table. As they worked, they also prepared for the inevitable confrontation with the Zarketh. The outpost's defenses had held so far, but they knew it was only a matter of time before their pursuers found a way to breach them. Finally, after what felt like endless hours of work and numerous setbacks, they cracked the code. The luminary communication array sprang to life, its power humming through the station. "It's now or never," Captain Rodriguez said, her voice tense but determined. "Are we ready to broadcast?" Ilara nodded, taking a deep breath. They had prepared a message, a truth that would shake the foundations of the galactic order. With a final glance at her companions, human and alien alike, she activated the array. The message went out, carried on channels that bypassed conventional communication networks. Across the galaxy, on countless worlds and space stations, beings of all species received the transmission. The truth about the Zarketh was revealed, their manipulation, their false trials, their plans for domination. But more than that, the message carried hope. It showed the power of cooperation between species, the potential for a truly united galactic community. As the message spread, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Ships began to appear around the luminary outpost, not just Zarketh vessels, but ships from dozens of other species. Some came to offer support, others to seek refuge or to witness history in the making. The Zarketh, their deception exposed, found themselves facing a galaxy united against them. Their carefully constructed hierarchy of power began to crumble. In the midst of the chaos, a transmission came through from the Zarketh flagship. The face that appeared on the screen was one Ilara recognized, the leader who had overseen the trials. "You have no idea what you've done," the Zarketh leader hissed, its skin pulsing with patterns of rage and fear. "The galaxy needs order, structure. Without our guidance, it will fall into chaos." Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed not just the Zarketh leader, but the entire watching galaxy. "You're wrong. What the galaxy needs is unity, not domination. We've shown that different species can work together, can overcome their differences to achieve something greater than any could alone." She gestured to her diverse group of companions. "This is the future, not a galaxy ruled by fear and manipulation, but one where every species is free to contribute its unique strengths and perspectives." The Zarketh leader's response was cut off as another ship appeared, larger and more advanced than any they had seen before. A new voice came over the communications channel, resonating with power and wisdom. "We have watched and waited," the voice said. "Now, at last, we see a galaxy ready for the next step." Gasps of shock and awe rippled through the chamber as they realized who was speaking. The luminary, long thought extinct, had returned. What followed was a period of immense change and adaptation. The Zarketh Empire, without its web of lies to sustain it, collapsed. In its place, a new galactic council began to form, one that represented all species equally. Humanity, despite its relative newcomer status, found itself playing a crucial role in this new order. The ingenuity, adaptability, and cooperative spirit they had demonstrated became a model for interspecies relations. Ilara, once a scientist seeking first contact, now found herself as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. As she stood before the assembled representatives of countless worlds, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. "We came seeking knowledge," she addressed the council, "and we found so much more. We discovered that the true strength of any civilization lies not in its ability to dominate others, but in its capacity to work together, to combine diverse strengths and overcome shared challenges. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces, beings that had once seemed impossibly foreign, now allies and friends. The stars have always called to us, beckoning us to explore, to discover, to grow. Now, as we take our place among you, we do so not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, building a future that honors the best in all of us. As applause filled the chamber, Ilara felt a sense of both accomplishment and anticipation. They had overcome incredible odds, exposed a galactic conspiracy, and helped reshape the political landscape of the galaxy. But she knew this was just the beginning. The real work of building a truly united galactic civilization lay ahead. There would be challenges, setbacks, and conflicts yet to come. But as she looked at her companions, human and alien alike, Ilara felt a surge of hope. Together, they had already achieved the impossible. Whatever the future held, she knew that they would face it united, ready to prove again and again that humanity, and indeed all sentient life, was capable of greatness beyond measure. The galaxy, vast and full of wonders, awaited, and humanity was ready to take its place among the stars.